Hey everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel, This Story Ain't Over. So today I'm super excited to bring you one of my favorite videos to film every year, and that is my anticipated releases video. So today I'm going to be telling you about 20 or so titles that I am so excited for that are coming out in 2022. Most of these are books that are coming out from the first half of 2022 because they are the ones that have been announced already, but there are a few that I know about or that might be coming for the end of 2022 as well that I'm gonna mention. Today's video is being sponsored by Zyro, but I will tell you about them in a little bit. Alrighty, so the first book that I'm excited for is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. And this book comes out January 11th, 2022, and I actually already have an arc of it, so I am super excited to dive into it, hopefully sometime during the holidays, if not at the very beginning of the year. And this one, according to the description, is a captivating debut fantasy, and it's inspired by the legend of Chang'e, who is a Chinese moon goddess, who was a young woman who went on a quest to free her mother and ends up getting pit against one of the most powerful immortals in the realm. This one seems like it's going to be a really expansive fantasy. I love that it already has this magical element and the goddesses and this quest and all of that, and it also seems like it might have a bit of a romance as well. So overall, I think it's just going to be a really beautiful fantasy that I'm going to want to fall in love with. Also, let's just take a moment to appreciate this cover. It is gorgeous. All right, the next book is Real Easy by Marie Rutkowski, and this comes out January 18th, 2022. The reason I'm excited for this one is because I actually really love Marie Rutkowski's books. This is actually an adult novel, but I've previously read her YA books, specifically the Winners Trilogy, which is a series that I read in high school and really enjoyed. She does have another duology, I think, that recently came out that I haven't had the chance to read yet, but this one seems super interesting. It is an adult thriller set in a Midwestern strip club, and apparently it is in the spirit of Gillian Flynn and Tana French, who are like big thriller authors, and this is actually set in 1999, and apparently it draws on Marie Rutkowski's own experience as being a dancer, which I find super interesting. So there's like a bit of truth to this, and it is a thriller, obviously, and it involves two dancers and a investigation and murder sort of going on, and I don't want to really like read too much into the description because I just want to be like completely surprised, but those are the main things. Set at a Midwestern strip club, set in the 1990s, and it is based on some experiences that the author herself had as a dancer. All of this seems super interesting, and I think it's just like a perfect setting for a thriller, so I'm excited to see how it goes. Alrighty, the next book seems so cute, and that is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, and this comes out January 25th. 2022. So if you guys don't know, this author-writing duo are actually engaged or married now, I think, but they wrote a bunch of YA novels together, which I think is just so adorable, and they're all romances. But this is actually their first adult novel, and it actually seems to draw from their own sort of personal experiences because it follows a co-writing duo. So basically this follows our two main characters, Katrina and Nathan, and they were a co-writing duo, and they had like multiple bestsellers, and they were just super popular and had a great relationship too, just as like partners. But on the heels of their greatest success, their partnership actually ends on really bad terms. And so they haven't spoken or, had a relationship in the past 3 years, but because of circumstances that we are sure to find out as we read, they are forced to come back together, hole up in a tiny Florida town where they wrote their previous book, and try to finish a new manuscript painlessly and quickly. But of course, as they are holed up in this Florida town and forced to deal with each other again, their old feelings sort of bubble back up. I'm really excited for this one because, one, it's the author's first adult novel, but also it just seems like the perfect sort of concept for a hate to love, previous friends romance, and I just love this entire concept. I think it's just going to be so cute, and I love the title as well, The Roughest Draft, and I just love that they are a co-writing duo writing about a co-writing duo, which just adorable. So really excited for it. Alrighty, the next book is one that I have been waiting for ages and just so freaking excited for because it's by one of my favorite authors, and it also draws upon her own background, and that book is This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi, and this comes out February 1st, 2022. So as you guys may know, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, I absolutely love Tahira Mafi, specifically her contemporaries, A Very Large Expanse of Sea and An Emotion of Great Delight. But I've honestly actually never read her dystopian series, which is the Shatter Me series. And to be honest, I did try picking it up when I was in high school, but I just never really got into it. I just don't feel like I would enjoy it at this point in my life because I don't really enjoy dystopians all that much anymore. But when I found out that Tara Mafi was going to be writing a new YA fantasy series that is based off of Persian mythology, I was just like mind blown, so excited. I also really love this cover as well. I love the gold, but I also just like love the armor and everything about it. But it seems like this book follows multiple characters, a disposable servant and a crowned prince, and it also involves a bit of a romance as well. And that's about all I know, and that's about all I want to know because I kind of want to go into this a little bit blind and just enjoy the story. So overall, I think the like general concept is what's hooked me, and just the knowledge that Tara Mafi is writing a fantasy series based off of Persian mythology. Just so exciting, and I just cannot wait to read it. Alrighty, the next book is Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie, and this is coming out February 8th, 2022. The reason I'm really excited for this one is because it's actually written by Raquel, the booktuber. I've seen her videos before and I've really enjoyed some of them. I don't know her too well personally, but I was so excited by the fact that she wrote a book, a YA contemporary novel based off of some of her own experiences, and I just think it's going to be a really cute, adorable novel. And basically what I gathered from the description of the novel, it follows a Cuban teenage girl, you know, dealing with the last year of high school and friendship and drama and all of that, but also discovering her queerness in this sort of heartfelt, hilarious YA coming-of-age novel. This also seems to have some literary references, including Ophelia from Shakespeare, from Hamlet, so I absolutely love any book that has like strong literary references, especially contemporaries, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm just curious to see what Raquel has come up with. The next book that I'm super excited for is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O, and this comes out February 22nd, 2022. This one seems super interesting, and again, a very sort of mythical fantasy, and it follows our main character Mina, whose homeland has been ravaged by these deadly storms, and bloody wars are waged over the remaining resources. And so Mina's people believe that the sea god, who previously was their protector, is now cursing them. And so they have a tradition every year where they sacrifice the most beautiful young maiden to go off into the sea and become his bride. And the hope is that if the true bride of the sea god is found, he will take pity on them and stop their suffering. And I don't want to delve too much into the plot, but basically Mina ends up in a situation where she ends up sacrificing herself to become the sea god's bride, and she's taken under the sea, and she is swept into the spirit realm, a magical city of lesser gods and mythical beasts. And so with the help of a mysterious man named Shin and a motley crew of demons, gods, and spirits, Mina sets out to wake up the sea god and end the deadly storms once and for all. This seems like such a cool concept and such an interesting, you know, world. I absolutely love fantasy worlds that involve like gods and mythical beings and that kind of thing, so I'm super excited to see how this one's gonna go. This one also has a really beautiful cover, so I think it's just gonna look stunning in person. Alright, the next book is probably my most anticipated release for 2022, and that is All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir, and this comes out March 1st, 2022. As you guys may know, I absolutely love Sabaa Tahir's fantasy series, The Ember and the Ashes Quartet, and this is her first foray into contemporary, and it is a standalone novel. And this book draws on Sabaa Tahir's own experiences when her family ran a motel in the Mojave Desert. And this follows two timelines, so then in Lahore, Pakistan, and then now in Juniper, California. And so the then timeline follows Misbah as she is taken off into an arranged marriage and moves to the States and is opening this motel. And then the now timeline in Juniper, California follows two kids, Sal and Noor, and Sal is actually Misbah's son, and he's watching as his mother's health is sort of deteriorating, and there's also this really complicated relationship between Sal and Noor involving some romantic feelings, and the overall concept just seems so interesting, and I feel like it's going to be a really sort of powerful contemporary novel, especially knowing Sabaa Tahir, who loves making me cry at the end of a series, so I'm just so interested to see how this one's gonna go. Alright, the next book is Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and this comes out March 1st, 2022, and this is V.E. Schwab's new YA book, which I've been waiting for a while, because I absolutely loved Heard This Savage Song duology, which was just so cool and such an interesting mashup of different elements. But Gallant has been pitched as The Secret Garden meets Crimson Peak in a standalone standalone novel, perfect for fans of Holly Black and Neil Gaiman. I do agree that V. Schwab's writing is quite similar to Neil Gaiman and Holly Black and sort of the vibes of her stories. And the book follows our main character, Olivia Pryor, who has been going to this like all-girls boarding school for most of her life, but she receives a mysterious letter one day telling her to return to her home called Gallant. But when she returns home, she finds that no one was actually expecting her, and there are some strange things going on, but she's not sure if they're actually supernatural or if it's her cousin Matthew messing with her. And with all this going on, Olivia is determined to uncover the secrets of Gallant and the house, and it seems like a bit of a haunted house situation, which I absolutely love haunted house stories, so I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm also interested by the Secret Garden Crimson Peak comparison as well, so we'll see how this one goes. Alrighty, but before we get into the next book, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Zyro. So Zyro is a website builder, and with it you can create some amazing, stunning websites and also build online stores. The best part about Zyro is that it requires no coding and no web design skills whatsoever. It is basically idiot-proof, which we love because I'm pretty good with tech, but I am not amazing with tech, especially when it comes to sort of coding and HTML and that kind of thing. So Zyro is a lifesaver. So you're probably thinking, Jananie, why are you telling me about a website builder? What does this matter? What does this have to do with anything? Well, let me tell you. 2021 is coming to an end, and I feel like at the end of a year and at the beginning of a new one, we all have this inclination to start something new, try a new venture, and also rebrand a little bit. And I feel like I've been feeling that too. I want to, organize my goals, organize myself, and organize my persona online. So this is the website that I've been building on Zyro recently, and as you guys may remember, I used to have a blog under thisstoryaintover.com, and I was finding that I wasn't being very consistent with it. I wasn't doing journaling anymore towards the second half of the year, and so it started to become sort of a useless site. So I wanted to create something that was a little bit more me, a little bit more branded towards me. So this is just a sort of portfolio-ish website. It has my Instagram feed. It has a little bit about me. It gives you a little bit of a primer on my videos and where you can access them. But it also has some useful information about me, about what I'm up to. And probably my favorite part of the website is where I list out some more information about the Read and Color book club, because I want people to be able to find more information about it if they're interested. And it's just a really great way to sort of let people know what I'm up to. So as you can see, this is the website builder view for Zyro, and you can just drag and drop things wherever you want them to fit, and it's just really customizable in a way that I haven't found any other website builders in the market to be. And trust me, I have tried many of them and nothing compares to Zyro. Zyro is also the most affordable website builder on the market right now. It's got beautiful templates, it's also extremely fast, and it's also the easiest way to create a website or build an online store. Another thing I absolutely love about Zyro is their 24/7 live chat support. So if you just go to this little icon in the bottom right corner, you get a little chat there and you can talk to a real live human 24/7 for any of the needs that you have. And so if you're like me, reaching the end of 2021, wanting to rebrand a little, or just brand yourself a little bit in general, have a place to build an online store, or just have a portfolio for people to find, I definitely think you should use Zyro to build your website. They currently have a really awesome holiday sale going on. You can use this limited time deal to get up to 72% off plus 3 months free off of a yearly plan. That is one of the best deals I have ever heard, and it's also just such a great website builder and so easy to use, and one that I will be using for many years to come. So you can go build your website now before the end of 2021 for a new year, for a fresh start. And if you use my code thisstoryaintover, which is just my channel name, or click the link in my description, you can grab this deal up to 72% off plus 3 months free on any yearly plan. As always, it really supports my channel when you guys click those links and use those codes in my description. So I really appreciate all of you who do use them. Alrighty, with that said, let's jump into the next book on this anticipated releases list. The next book that I am so excited for. I've been freaking out ever since I found out about it. And I also had a really cool interaction with the author on Twitter. She DM'd me after I followed her, and she was like, I'm a fan of your channel. And I was like, I'm a fan of you. Your book sounds so cool. And so I'm hopefully getting an early copy of this book. But that book is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel, and this comes out April 26th. 2022. So this is told in the vein of Madeline Miller's Circe, but it reimagines the life of Kaikeyi, who is this vilified queen from the Hindu epic, the Ramayana. And so it follows Kaikeyi's story from a young girl until much later in her life and the events of the epic as well. And it sort of delves into her motivations behind what she does in the epic as well. She's sort of seen as like a negative character in the epic, so I'm so curious to see how she's going to be reimagined in the book, and I'm just so excited for the overall concept and like just the idea that it's slightly like Circe as well. And I have read like I think an excerpt of like the first chapter, and I already love the writing style, so I'm just overall super excited for the book and cannot wait to read it. Alrighty, the next book is one that I don't know too much about, but it's by an author that I absolutely love, and that is A Million to One by Adiba J. Girdhar. So you guys may recognize the author's name. She is the author of The Henna Wars and also Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating. I did a live show with her in June for Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating, so you should definitely go check that out. But I love both of her books. They're about unapologetic South Asian teens who are also queer and have some really interesting discussions of what it means to be like a queer person of color. But this book I don't know too much about, but it is out sometime in spring of 2022, which is why I didn't tell you a release date. And from what I have gathered from the deal announcement and whatever else from like Adiba's website, she describes it as chaotic LGBTQIA people on the Titanic with a dash of high stakes romantic heist. And then the official like deal announcement description is a high stakes romantic heist YA novel set on the Titanic in which 4 girls team up to steal a priceless jewel encrusted book on board the infamous ship. All of this sounds so exciting. Like, I love that it's a heist on the Titanic and it's got 4 queer girls, and like this entire idea is just so exciting. And I'm just so curious to see how she's going to execute this because it's a bit of a historical novel as well. So overall, really interested in this and excited to see how it's gonna go. And I hope we get a release date soon so I just know exactly when to expect it. All right, the next book is one that I'm so excited for because it's by an author that I absolutely love and that I actually discovered this year. And that book is Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this comes out May 3rd, 2022. So you may recognize Emily Henry as the author of Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation. I read both books this year and absolutely loved them. They're some of my favorite romances ever, and I'm so excited for this book and the entire concept of it because it follows 2 characters who work in publishing. So one is a literary agent and then the other one is a book editor. And the 2 of them seem to be characters who, you know, don't have their lives figured out, and he's a bit of a brooding guy and she's sort of the girl who doesn't think she's the hero of her own story. And it's a love story from there, and I just love this idea of like 2 bookish people falling in love. I think it's gonna be adorable, and Emily Henry has a way of just like crafting a really nice chemistry between her characters as well. So I'm super excited for it, and it seems like the perfect romance for book lovers. All right, the next book is also by an author that I absolutely love, and that is Book of Night by Holly Black, and this comes out May 3rd, 2022. So this is actually Holly Black's first ever adult novel, which has me so excited because I absolutely love Holly Black's The Cruel Prince series, or the Folk of the Air series, and I thought it was fantastic. It has some really dark and twisted characters and just some interesting betrayals and that kind of thing, and also just a really interestingly imagined fantasy world. So I've always sort of thought that she would be fantastic writing adult books as well. And this one, from what I can tell in the description, is a modern dark fantasy of shadowy thieves and secret societies in the vein of Ninth House and the Night Circus, which is a combination that I'm so excited for. Like, I love the Night Circus in concept. Like, I didn't really like the book, but in concept, I think it's really cool. Ninth House, I absolutely loved. I loved it both in concept and the actual book. And so a mashup of those 2 just seems super, super cool. And the fact that it's like a dark fantasy and secret societies and shadowy thieves, like all of that just sounds so exciting. And I know Holly Black has a way of like executing on some really dark characters as well. And especially if she's given the free reign of an adult novel, I think this is going to be fantastic. I don't think this one has a final cover yet. I think the one I have on screen here is like a preliminary holder cover. So a new one will be coming out soon. All right, the next book is one that I've been hearing about for ages now, and that book is A Show for Two by Tashi Bhuiyan, and this comes out May 6th, 2022. So if you guys remember, this author has actually written another YA book called Counting Down with You, and I actually read that earlier this year. I didn't absolutely love it, but I do think it's a really fun YA novel if you're like a bit on the younger side, if you're a teen. And I also think it had some really great representation for a Bangladeshi girl. But this book's concept seems super interesting because it's based off of a real life like situation. For those of you who don't know, Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man in all the new Marvel movies, before he actually played the role for the first time in Captain America Civil War, was actually sent undercover to an American high school to sort of learn how an American high school student would be, because he's actually British. And so he ended up in this, funny situation going to a New York, science-y school. And funnily enough, Tashi Bhuyan was actually one of the other students at that school. And so she actually met Tom Holland and like had this entire experience. So the book is actually based off of this experience of, Tom Holland being an actor going undercover at her school. I'm just so excited by this entire concept. I think it's going to be adorable. Obviously, she didn't fall in love with Tom Holland in real life, but in the book, there's a romance as well, and it just seems super, super cute. So I cannot wait to read it. All right, the next book is a sequel that I'm super excited for. I basically know nothing about what's going to happen in this one, but I loved the first book, so I am so excited for this one. So that book is Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion, and this comes out July 26th, 2022. And let us all just take in this gorgeous, gorgeous cover, like so beautiful. This is the sequel to Legendborn, if you guys remember that from, I think this year or last year, I forget when I read it, but it was such a fantastic sort of contemporary fantasy. It involves the Arthurian legends and a bit of like secret society, and also sort of a Mortal Instruments type of shadow world going on with like demons emerging from a different realm and like people hunting them. And overall, it was just a fantastic book. Also has some really interesting discussions of race. I just absolutely loved it so, so much. And this sequel is coming out next year at last. I think the book did come out in like 2020. So I've been like waiting for a sequel for a while, and I know a lot of other people have too. And it also has like a really great romance to it, a bit of a love triangle that I actually really loved. So I'm so curious to see where this is gonna go in the next book. All right, the next book that I'm really excited for is by an author that I absolutely love, and that book is Babel by R.F. Kuang, and this comes out August 23rd, 2022. I think that is the final release date, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't take my word for it, but that's what I saw on Goodreads. And this book I'm so freaking excited for, because when the deal announcement went out and like the author announced it on Twitter, I just like freaked out because it seems so, so interesting. And the basic concept is, this is a thematic response to The Secret History and a tonal response to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of translation as a tool of empire. And basically what I've gathered is that this is a dark academia with a more diverse cast, and really delves more into like the harms of academia and also like the history of academia and like knowledge itself. And knowing this author, R.F. Kuang, who also wrote the Poppy War series, which is one of my favorite like adult fantasy series ever, knowing her, I think this is going to be so intricate and so interesting. The Poppy War itself is based off of a lot of Asian history, and the author herself is like, I think some sort of historian, like she's doing a PhD, I think, or has finished it. So just knowing her background, I think this is going to be a really interesting book, and I'm so, so excited for it. I don't know if it's a series yet, but I'm hoping it is, because I think she just has some great series and some great books, and I'm so excited to have something new coming from her. I know I've been saying I'm so excited about everything, but like honestly, I am so excited for everything. All right, the next book is by a romance author that I discovered this year, and that book is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and this comes out August 23rd, 2022. So you guys might recognize Ali Hazelwood as the author of The Love Hypothesis, which is a book I picked up this year and really, really loved and enjoyed. It's such a cute book and like the most adorable adult romance with some like really great discussions of like what it means to, be a woman in STEM and like working in that field, and also being like a grad student and that kind of thing. And I just absolutely loved it. It was so, so cute, and like the romance was just so adorable, but it also has some like really nice steamy scenes as well. And so I think this book is like a companion to The Love Hypothesis, but deals with a different set of characters. And basically what I've gathered is that it's a romance between a neuroscientist for NASA who is paired up on a project with a grumpy engineer. And I love sort of that dynamic. I really love the author's like first book, The Love Hypothesis. I think she did such a great job of writing in the characters' chemistry. So I'm excited to see what she has coming next. The next book is just sort of a mention, but I'm really excited for Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. There's no set release date for this one. It is assumed to be coming out in 2022, but it's basically the third book in the Last Hours series by Cassandra Clare. This is the series that follows James and Cordelia and Lucy and basically all the children of the Infernal Devices characters. So it's set in the early 1900s. So far, I'm loving this series. I absolutely loved the first and second one a lot more than the Dark Artifices series, I would say. So I'm curious to see how this last one is going to be and how it's going to end. And yeah, Cassie just like has me on the hook. Like I will read anything she puts out, so super excited for this one. I should also say this is not the actual cover. This is just like a placeholder cover that she has on her website. Alrighty, the next book that I'm so excited for is again one that doesn't have a release date. It is assumed to be coming out sometime in 2022, probably in the fall, and that book is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. So this is the first book in a new duology that is a spin-off from the These Violent Delights duology. So if you don't know, Chloe Gong wrote another duology called These Violent Delights and then Our Violent Ends, and it was basically a Romeo and Juliet retelling, a very loose one, set in 1920s Shanghai, involving two opposing gangs and like a plague running through the city and a monster as well and a bit of a mystery. And it was fantastic. I absolutely loved the first book. I am hoping to read the second book before the end of the year. And so she has this new spin-off series coming, and what it says in the deal announcement is it's a speculative historical noir surrounding the events of Imperial Japan's expansion into China in the 1930s. So it's set like quite a few years after These Violent Delights, and a familiar character is recruited as a national spy, maintaining her false identity, posing as a young married couple with someone who might be the very enemy. I absolutely love this concept so much. One of the things that I loved about These Violent Delights is the historical setting that it's in and the fact that it's set in Shanghai and just like the rich history that we get there as well. And so I'm so excited that she's like delving into, you know, the era of Chinese history with Imperial Japan. And I'm also just super excited that we are going to be getting a character from the previous books who is returning. And I don't know who it's going to be yet because I haven't read the second book yet, but I have a suspicion of who it might be. So I'm excited if it's that person. And of course, I'm just also excited by this whole like posing as a fake couple thing. I think that's going to be adorable, and I'm just really excited overall for this new duology. Alrighty, but those are all the books that I wanted to mention today that are coming out next year that I'm so freaking excited for. I cannot wait to have all of these in my hands and to read them. I think there's so many great books that are coming out from authors that I absolutely love and who are putting out new stuff, so I'm really excited to buy that, and also some of the new debuts as well. I would love to hear from you guys which of these books you're most excited for, and if there's a book that's coming out in 2022 that you're really excited for that I didn't mention on this list, I would love to hear that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to Zyro for sponsoring this video. Definitely check out that deal using my code thisstoryaintover or the link in my description. With their holiday sale, you can get up to 72% off and 3 months free on any yearly plan, which is such a great deal for this really fast and easy to use website builder that will just help you make the website of your dreams. As always, it really helps me and my channel out if you guys choose to support me by using the links and the codes that I put in the description. So thank you so much to those of you who do use them. If you haven't already, go check out my Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and TikTok in the description down below, and I will see you in my next video. So please remember that this story ain't over. Bye!